Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, you are in for a real treat today.
Oh,
because
tell me.
Well, I got really frustrated the other week, and when I get really frustrated, I just tend to get a laptop out and I just type. And, I started typing, and I was like, okay, so what does that sales leadership role look like inside of a business? I'm going to read you some things that were in a daily email called Sales Leadership, and then we're going to talk about them.
It's a cracker.
And thinking about what the sales leadership's all about.
Love this. This is in my stream. Let's go.
Okay, great. So what does a sales leader do? Number one, it's a great question. So first of all, you got to choose your markets.
Yep.
The number one time that I say to someone, okay, great, if you want to become the number one in your marketplace, you need to tell me, what is that marketplace? Is that geographical? Is it price point? Is it units? Is it houses? Is it all of the above? And what does number one look like? Yep. So if, for example, there are 100 sales a year and the number one agent in that area currently does 21, then you would need to do 22 sales to become the number one agent in that area. So you need to know what number one looks like.
Yes.
Secondary thing, after choosing your markets, assemble the best players. If you need to do 1,000 sales to become the number one agent or agency in that area, you're going to need a bigger team. Yeah. So when do you put on an operations person? When do you put on a salesperson? Recruit, train, and develop your people. So how do we recruit the best talent on ground? How do we make sure that we're developing those people to make them the best agents? Area knowledge, market knowledge, transactional knowledge, brand knowledge, how we generate leads, how we win listings, how we got to make sales. Learning to read the market. So what are the indicators of the day? You will see it first based on inquiries, or maybe you see it first at open for inspections.
Yeah.
Or maybe
clearance rates.
Which is a lag effect, but opens are probably first, maybe. So there's a bit of a combo. Learning to then, you'll be able to give that to your team to anticipate what's next. So this is interesting, learning to adapt. Now that we know that's the case, this is what we're going to go and do. Ensuring a minimum listing numbers and to make sure that we're at that number one. So then this is really important that we're listing consistently so that we don't have a slow January or February, or we don't have a bumpy April, or because we've kind of led ahead of that and we've got some dialogue around it. Ensure compliance. Obviously there's lots of compliance stuff, and AML is going to come in shortly. That's going to be interesting what AUSTRAC asks us to do, and we're going to need to make sure that we're heavily compliant on that. But then motivating the team, that people will go through sales slumps, they'll go through amazing levels of momentum and then fall off. And so learning how to go and do that. Learning how to then be in a position to drive results in market. So how are we getting our market share to grow in units or in houses or above the $1 million sector? Introducing new technologies to streamline process, to make it easier, to make it faster. Driving marketing campaigns for agents, marketing campaigns for properties, marketing campaigns for the brand. Yep. Executing new initiatives inside of the business. So looking at that, making sure that we've got really good quality seasons in the business to understand how we work with those. Opening in new markets, what would we do? What would our new market team look like? How would we build data? What relationships can we go to, do better quality conversations on? Exploiting those opportunities. So if you're saying to me that we've got 1,000 landlords who live in that next suburb and we've never gone to that suburb before, then why don't we go to that suburb? Because it should be a strength based on data and relationship. Working relationships with suppliers, internally, externally in the teams, and then ultimately being relentless. That was a big day, wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
A sales manager, coach, trainer, leader, they're
head of sales,
they are really rare.
Yes.
To find someone that has the ability to be able to kind of handle that velocity.
Yes.
But here's the key, in my experience. I've been leading sales teams for 27 years.
Yes.
I became a sales manager at 19.
Yes.
I was ordained on Friday. You are now the sales manager. And on Monday, I was managing my team and I had no idea. So I've learned all the mistakes I've done. I've done all the things that I probably shouldn't have done. And I've learned through osmosis and great coaches and mentors and trainers like you, right? The reality is, though, we must condense this to what actually moves the flywheel. Mm-hmm. So what is it that's really important for a sales leader to do? Mm-hmm. It is cultivate culture, okay? Because culture beats everything. Mm-hmm. So if you've got an environment where you've got people that feel safe, that people that feel that they could be listened to and trusted, then they'll flourish, right? So they've got to be able to cultivate culture. Second thing they've got to be able to do is they've got to be able to coach and they've also got to be able to mentor. Very, very different. Yeah, let me show you how, and this is why we do it, right? The third part is they also need to be vulnerable because having that skill set across that broad range, no one's perfect at that. So they need to know when they need to ask for help, whether that's through a principal or whether that's through a partner or a coach like yourself or wherever it might be. So the key is with this, though, it is the most rewarding role if you are tuned into letting people be more successful than you and watching them be successful. If you get off on that, you've got the best career in real estate sales leadership ever. The problem is that our industry hasn't fostered that and hasn't grown it.
Yes.
Okay. And that is a real blight on our industry because you look at the young talent that's coming through.
Yeah.
More often than not, unless they're getting, through Josh Phegan Digital or they're going to Blueprint or they're on YouTube or whatever it might be or Insta, they're learning through osmosis. And sometimes the best agents aren't the best sales leaders.
Does it make you think, though, like are you amazed that, if you walk into a business and go, so who's in charge of the sales leadership or the head of sales stuff and no one is?
Yeah, absolutely. And I tend to see that a lot when you've got two partners in particular that are both listing and selling. If they're writing $1 million or more in GCI, it's a really hard thing to give up to be able to go, Josh, you got to get off the tools and start coaching and training and recruitment and all that type of stuff. But more importantly, where's the operating manual to teach people how to lead people?
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. Right?
So someone once said to me, to become a great leader, do to others what others have done to you that you like.
Yes.
And don't do to others what others have done to you that you didn't like.
Spot on.
And so we've all been in the school of leadership.
Absolutely.
But are you learning from it? And the other thing is too, is that if you want to talk about culture, how you actually handle a crisis
correct
will redefine that culture faster than anything else.
Absolutely. And how you address issues, whether they're inter-office issues or vendor issues or landlord issues. But I think the thing is here with this is that it is a skill that you build over many years and many experiences. It's the ability to be able to go, I'm going to walk into the storm. I've got a very upset landlord. Rather than avoiding it, let me walk into the confrontation to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to be able to identify when a campaign's getting off track.
Yes.
Or an agent's fallen out of love with that listing.
Yes.
To be able to go, hey, let's get the paddles of life out here and give it some, energy.
Yes.
What would you need to do? How would that look like? And what are the things that you need to say to your vendor to be able to get this back on track? So I love sales leadership.
Yeah.
And I tell you why I love it, because I love seeing people grow. So, and I've got so many case studies in our business of I've seen people, writing 200, now they write $1 million. I've seen a go from $1 million to 4 million, and we've got them coming out, and that for me is the biggest win. So my role as a sales leader is to keep people safe, is to be able to read the play. More importantly, is to be the president of their fan club, but at the same time also be really real with them when they're going off track.
So I drop Con into a business.
Yep.
You have 1 hour to build the sales strategy for that business.
Yeah.
What do you look at? Who do you talk to?
Yeah.
To help you to determine what you feel that business's sales strategy needs to be?
Yeah, really good. So I've got an hour, right? So the first thing I'm doing is what's the state of play? What's the current situation?
So you're looking at how many listings have we got, how many sales have we got,
correct.
How many are over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Spot on. So what's listed that's not sold?
Yeah.
What's coming? What's in the pipeline?
Yeah.
What's, what hasn't had a price update or a change? What's, expired? But I'm also looking at total addressable market. So what's our share of voice?
Yeah.
Right? Then I'm working out.
Do you look at auction versus for sale?
Yeah, I'm looking at all the vital statistics. So think about like a nurse.
Let's talk about what those vital ones are.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay, so let's go through auction versus private treaty, days on market. I'm looking at fee.
What about vendor paid marketing?
I'm looking at VPA.
So we're aware of a business that went belly up recently.
It's the fastest way, Josh.
Close to $750,000 in unpaid vendor paid market.
So it's and there's no reason for that, like with things like real flow and all those type of things, right? So I'm looking at all the vital statistics and I'm kind of trying to diagnose very quickly where the immediate wins are. It could be that they've got really good share of voice, but their fees are really low.
Sure.
Right? Or it could be that the dollar productivity per agent's quite low.
Yes.
But they've got a lot of bums on seats, but not a lot of productivity.
So do you look at like what percentage of the revenue is written by any key
Absolutely.
writer?
100%. And then I also look at...
So if 80%'s been written by a writer, are you worried?
Absolutely, unless they are a partner tied into the business and they're also very happy at being in that business. So
what about constant turnover of support staff in a sales team?
In terms of associates and CSMs and that type of stuff?
Yeah, operations.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's cultural.
New marketing person.
Yeah, all that type of stuff. So I'm getting really the lay of the land probably within the first, you've given me an hour.
Yeah.
But let's say the first 15 to 20 minutes.
Yes.
Right? So I'm doing a deep dive and I'm getting in there and I'm looking at everything that they wouldn't, all the blind spots. So then the next 15 or 20 minutes, I'm starting to now build out strategy. So I notice...
So put it into an STM chart.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Mate, you've done this before. You don't need me on this. But you're absolutely right. Put it in an STM. So when we bought Parramatta, we were very heavy in everywhere except Parramatta, and we were very heavy on units. So straight away, for us to increase our average sale price, we need to be connected with people that own houses. So let's go straight into our landlords. How many of those? We had bought 327, and at the time it was 43% of all of our landlords lived in the same region. So really just pick up the phone, speak to our landlords. So we start building out what's the strategy, then what do we need to do to be able to get to the strategy, the tactics, and what does success look like? What's the measurement? And then I'm working out who's on the bus and who needs to be off the bus.
Okay, so is this in the final 15 to 20 minutes?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And then who needs to join the bus? So I'm really looking at because I'm a big
competitor assessment, mergers and acquisitions.
I'm a big believer, though, that the best recruits are already sitting in the seats in that office.
But lifting engagement, productivity.
That's exactly right. And leadership. So you do that do that in your own business. Sit down and just work out, you know what, I'm going to share it later in ideas that are kind of, changing my view, because I found a little model without making it confusing. But I've done this with a project that we're working on, exactly what you've done. And I did it in an hour. And it's amazing what you can document where things are off track and what levers you need to pull, the tactics, to be able to get it back on track.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
There's this really cool newsletter called 1% Better with Colby. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, right? Last year, he had a post about the Harada method. Okay. And he used, who's the Michael Jordan of baseball? That guy, Ohani. Ohani's the guy, right? And so what it is, it's a grid. Printed off in an A3 sheet, Harada, Hirata method, something like that, right? And it's a grid sheet. So it's got a centralized box with a yellow box in the middle. That is the ultimate goal. So for him, it was to get to the Major League Baseball. Now, for him to do that, he had to get his body right. There's one box. He had to get his mind right. He had to get his skills right. He had to get his anger right. He had to get all these. So there's basically one centralized box, and then there's 9 boxes around it of that feed into that. They then feed into the next box. So when we talk about body, getting your body right, what is that? He's got to get his strength up. He's got to get his power up, his hand-eye coordination. It's essentially a mind map for exactly what we do in our businesses, which is strategy, tactic, and measurements. It's an awesome exercise if you just want to start getting thoughts out. Like, what would I need to do to be able to get an agent to increase their fees? Bang, and you start writing it out, and it's a great starting play.
Something that's changing your view.
I think that it's amazing to see the power of people just getting back to note taking. I think that with the AI and the digital idea and it can take the note. Mate, and I can tell you that the people that make the most are writing notes in the sessions because they're capturing that, they're allowing the brain to see it, they're allowing it to process, and then they're doing something with it.
Joshy, I could not agree more with you on this one. First of all, we all know that ChatGPT's written it. Okay, because I get the landlord or the tenant emails and I get the stuff that our team has actually condensed through ChatGPT. ChatGPT and AI can't do the thinking for you, okay? Because we need your brain, the way that you think and interpret information by writing it down to be able to come out. You can't just transcribe it. It's like us going, we've got enough content now, put it into AI, they'll do their own podcast. That's not how it works.
And I think this is the foundational idea is that, you got to know what makes you great, and then you got to go and scale more of that.
Yeah.
And so literally it's going to be relationships. It's going to be, the ability to be human, the creative thought, having tools around you, but learning how to make sure that you are the essence of what actually makes you, you.
Spot on.